Hey everyone, this is Megan with Left and Knots, and today I'm going to show you how I create a magic circle. This is a technique that is really intimidating to some people, but it's really useful in starting circular projects like hats that work from the top down, mittens, slipper socks, some bags and totes, anything that works in a circle from the curve down or up. And it's one of those techniques that's intimidating at first, but once you get it, you get it. You just have to get used to the way you're moving your hands. So if this doesn't feel intuitive right away, keep practicing because it will. So what I do is I've got my working yarn here and my crochet hook. That's all you need to do your magic circle for a crochet project. You're going to take the tail end of your yarn and rest it across your non-hook hand. And you're going to hold it down with your thumb. Now you're going to take that yarn. I usually wrap it around these first two, my pointer and my middle finger, so that it crosses on the top. Get real close there so you can see. You can see this yarn crosses over. I'll loosen it up here. So this is on top and this is on bottom. And I'm holding it tight with my ring finger and my pinky. Now I'm going to come in with my crochet hook. I'm going to put it under both strands of yarn where they're crossed. Grab my working yarn, which is the top part of that X, and pull it through. And this creates a loop. Now, one of my tips for this is you're going to have to be comfortable moving your hook more than your hands for this, because my hands are holding my yarn in place. And so I've got this one loop on my hook. Now I need to take my hook. You can see my working yarn is still held tight under my ring finger and my pinky. I'm going to take my hook, grab that yarn, and pull it through the loop that I created and pull it tight. Now you can relax your hand a little bit because now you've secured it. You've got the tail end of your yarn here. This is what you'll be using to pull your magic circle tight. You've got this loop here. This is the ring of yarn that you're actually going to be crocheting around. And then you've got your working yarn here. This is the yarn that you're going to be crocheting with. So now you start like you would start any crochet pattern in the round. You're going to, I'm just going to chain two and do some half double crochet stitches. So you chain two, or whatever your pattern calls for, and then you work your stitches into this loop space just like you would any other stitch space. So I'm going to say do 10 stitches into this loop space. And you can see this part where you go into this loop of yarn, this is like where you'd be inserting it into a stitch. So I'm pulling up my yarn through a stitch and then finishing my stitch by yarning over and pulling through. Try to do that closer for you. So I'm doing half double crochet, so I'm yarning over, inserting my hook into the yarn loop, which is in this case the stitch. Yarn over, pull up a loop through your circle of yarn, and then yarn over and pull through. Yarn over, insert your hook into this space, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, finish your stitch. So after you've got however many stitches your pattern calls for, I don't know how many I've done here, but we'll just say it's enough. You're going to pull a big loop so you don't lose any stitches. Pull up a big loop. And then you're going to take the tail of your yarn, this is the fun part, this is the magic, and you're going to pull that tight. Now I will note certain yarns like blanket yarn, velvet yarn, yarns with a lot of texture, you have to be careful with that pulling part because sometimes there's a lot of friction created by the yarn and you can actually snap the yarn by mistake. So if you're feeling a lot of resistance, either pull really slowly and carefully, or maybe consider not using a magic loop with that particular project. So now that you've pulled your loop closed, you're going to join to the beginning of the round with a slip stitch. So you're going to insert your hook into that first stitch of the round, pull it through both, and then pull tight. And you can see this loop can open up just a little bit. You can see I've got an airspace or a gap in there. That can be remedied just by giving this tail another quick tug. And then at the end of your project, you'll weave this tail in so that that won't keep loosening up. So that will stay closed once you weave your ends in. As you work on your project, you might see sometimes it's getting a little bit of a gap again. You can just keep tightening it up or just weave in your ends right away if it's bothering you. And now you can continue on with your project like you would any other circular project. And now you're just crocheting like you normally would in the round. So that is the magic circle. I'm going to slow it down and show you one more time. If you got it with that first demonstration, great, you can end now. If you want to see this really slowed down, I'm going to demonstrate one more time. So again, I'm going to lay this over these two fingers, loop around, and cross on the top. And now I'm going to hold my working yarn with my ring finger and my pinky. You don't have to hold your hands exactly the way that I do. I'm just showing you the way that I do it. Again, once you find a way that's comfortable for you, your hands, you'll have some muscle memory. Your hands will get used to this. So I'm going to take my crochet hook, go under where the yarn is crossed, and just moving my hook, not my hands, I'm going to rotate my hook to grab that yarn and pull it underneath where they cross. So there's my first loop that I created by doing that. Now again, moving pretty much just my hook, not my hands holding the yarn, I'm going to take my hook and I'm going to take that working yarn end again that's being held tight by my ring and pinky fingers, pull it through that loop, and then I just kind of wiggle it back and forth until it's tight. Once it feels tight, you can relax your hand and take your fingers out of that loop. So again, there's your loop. Here's your tail that you use to tighten, and your yarn, your working yarn that you're going to crochet with. Now let's try a different stitch. We can do a single crochet with this too. I think I have a knot in my yarn there, so this might be a little bit tight. There we go. Okay, so for single crochet, you insert your yarn into the stitch. Remember, in this case, the stitch is this circle of yarn, this magic circle of yarn. That's our stitch that we're inserting our hook into. Yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through 2 loops on your hook. Insert your hook into the loop or the circle, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through 2. Insert your hook into the magic circle, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Oops. Let's do a half double crochet there. Okay, so again, once you've got the number of stitches that you need, you're going to take, here's your tail end of your yarn. This is the end that will pull to tighten. You can see as I pull, this loop that I was working into gets smaller and smaller until it just kind of closes up. So I hope that that helps demystify the magic circle a little bit. I have too many patterns that use this technique on my blog to list them all in the video description below, but what you can do is go to my blog, www.leftandknots.com, and find all of my free patterns. I have over 200 free crochet patterns. A lot of them use this technique, like top-down hats, mittens, slipper socks, some tote bags, a lot to choose from. So I hope that you find some patterns that you love, and I hope that this helps you with this technique and gives you a little bit more confidence in trying it. Happy crocheting, and I will see you next time.